Welcome back, everybody, to another California-only Madden challenge, where we've taken a fantasy team, built them entirely of players who played out of school from California, drafted only players who played out of school in California, free agents, all that fun stuff. And unfortunately, we have yet to complete this challenge yet. We're coming off our third season. We only can go up to or through 5 seasons to win a Super Bowl, and our last season we went 1-16. It was the worst season we've had so far in terms of our total wins and losses. But when we went back through and looked at all the games, there were 9 games that we lost by 1 possession, which means we could have possibly been 10-6 if we just didn't make that one mistake here or there, or capitalized on a mistake from the other team. So while we were definitely not very good, we weren't as bad as I think our wins and losses kind of make it seem, but we're going to get better today. We're going to go through the entire offseason. I don't believe there's going to be too many free agents that will be available for us to bring in. I will check just to see, but for the most part, I think this is going to be a major draft. There's obviously a quarterback, top 5 projected. The first quarterback that we've had an option to, at least the first draftable quarterback that we've had an option to pick up that could possibly be a starter. Mills did not have a very good year, but he did somehow go up in dev. So the first thing we're going to do today is actually go through the stats from the last season, see how everyone did, and they'll be a little different than previous years, as a lot of our starters, guys who have been starting, we took out about halfway through the season and put in a majority of our young guys so they can get better and potentially take some spots. So Davis Mills actually had probably his best year, despite also playing really bad. A little bit under 4,000 yards. He did have 23 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, so much better in terms of the interception to touchdown ratio than he's had previous years. Only completed 60% of his passes, which is not great. He was also sacked 44 times. So if we can make our offensive line better, we're definitely going to try to. But Davis Mills, he's not going to start next year. He will be moved down to our backup quarterback as long as we are able to draft that new guy. So hopefully that happens. Feldman, we made a special with him at the end of the last episode where he got to start week 18, and he honestly had a pretty good game. He was able to scramble, get some yards that way, completed some good passes, missed a few yards deep downfield, but he actually threw the ball deep downfield, and he ended his season with a little under 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completing 83% of his passes, and was only sacked once, and he only played in a full 1 game. He had some playtime here and there during the Sims. In terms of rushing, Christian McCaffrey went for a little under 1,500, so another good season from him. 7 rushing touchdowns, no fumbles. We brought in Rashad Penny, and he was okay. I mean, nothing spectacular. And he ended up with 1 touchdown, 1 fumble, 128 yards on 39 carries. So he averaged 3.3, which is all right. Davis Mills, yeah, it's a little under 100, but that also, I think, includes sack yardage as well, so loses some there. And then Edward Feldman, the other quarterback, he was the next guy up, I guess, in terms of rushing with 40 yards on 7 carries. And then Felton, another guy we recently signed, he really didn't see the ball much. Only had 11 carries for 19 yards, 1.7 yards a carry is really not very, it's just not good at all. Fehoko ran the ball twice. And then Bodden ran the ball 3 times for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, not awful for a fullback. In terms of receiving, Junior Generals barely misses out on 1,000 yards. Just needed 19 more. He had over 1,000 his rookie year, so he's averaging 1,000 yards a season. He also had 7 touchdowns. I believe he led us in terms of receiving touchdowns, which is he did a vast improvement over his rookie season where he only had 2 touchdowns, but over 1,000 yards. So, sacrifice a little bit in terms of yardage for some more touchdowns. That's fine by me. And Dalton Schultz did lead the team in actual receptions with 81. He definitely had the most targets. And he finished with 710 yards, 6 touchdowns. So really good season for him. Christian McCaffrey also had a really good game. The receiving, he's over 2,000 all-purpose yards this season with 66 receptions for 727 yards and an additional 6 touchdowns. Will Tobias played about half the season as a starter on the outside. He was a rookie. He ended up having hidden devs, so obviously with us struggling, we put him out there to see what he ended up being, and he's a superstar. So for the most part, I'm pretty sure he's taken J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's spot. They are similar build-ish. Tobias is a bit taller, a little bit lighter, but not much, but they're both that physical receiver. And Will Tobias had 38 catches for 558 yards and 4 touchdowns versus JJ that had 30 receptions for 363 yards and 1 touchdown. And in terms of downs played, Tobias had a little over 100 more snaps, but still pretty good gap between those. JJ does not have superstar devs, so pretty sure he's lost his spot. One thing we can do, as Ertz might retire, I'm not sure, possibly move him to tight end. And he's been moved to tight end in real life with the Eagles, so fitting. Simi Fehoko ended his season with 28 receptions for 339 yards, no touchdowns. In his stead, we put in Jelani Rucker, who was another rookie. He had the same amount of catches with 28, a few less yards, but not a whole lot with 328, but he had 3 touchdowns. So he could possibly be taking Fehoko's spot as well, not quite sure. Zach Ertz, he didn't play a whole lot in any sort of receiving role. He was our number 2 tight end for half the year, and then Parkinson was for the other half. He ends with 4 catches, 36 yards, no touchdowns. Keyshawn Johnson got out there a little bit. Wasn't too impressive, but he did end up with 1 touchdown. Parkinson did get 2 touchdowns in his limited time out there as well. And then Marvin Jones Jr. only had 1 catch for 5 yards the whole season. He basically was just a mentor for our other receivers. And obviously we gave up a lot of sacks, and our tackles are giving up a lot of sacks. But we're drafting who we can and signing who we can, so if there's not an option for us, we can't really get better than what we currently have, besides them just progressing. They went through their second year, so they'll be going into their third, and they gave up a lot of sacks. But on the inside, we did pretty good. I'm hoping DeCastro doesn't regress very much, but not a whole lot we could do there, but we definitely do want them to get better. Bobby Okereke had almost 150 tackles this year. He's an insane middle linebacker for us. Blake Martinez probably had his best year as well, with 8 tackles for a loss, tied in first for Nathan Gregory, one of our rookies, our first pick in the last draft, and Tresman Reed, another rookie who was our second pick in the last draft. Each of those guys have 8 tackles for loss. Then Roman Hightower, who was yet again another rookie. He ended his season with 6 as he started the nose tackle position for us about halfway through the season. Solomon Thomas didn't have as good of a season as he previously had his Pro Bowl season. But again, he didn't only played half the year, but even if you double the stats, he only had 8 sacks in the previous year. He had, I think, 17, 18 maybe. So pretty decent step down from his previous performance. Dakota Coleman, second-year player, 5 tackles for loss, not bad. Bobby Okereke and Phillips both share 4. Hufunga had 3. Tack McKinley had 2. And then there are a handful of other guys who had 1 tackle for loss. And in terms of sacks, we were led by Nathan Gregory, surprisingly, with 6. I didn't think he would be the leader. But we've just had a lot of sacks from a lot of different players this year. We had a much better rotation up front, and it worked out pretty well for us. I mean, we had quite a few guys out there that have a lot of talent. So Nathan Gregory and Tresman Reed, 2 rookies, the top 2 guys. Then Solomon Thomas with 4. Tack McKinley had 4. Dakota Coleman had 3. Harrison Phillips had 2.5. Bobby Okereke with 2. And then Roman Hightower and Lewis Marshall each had 1. And interceptions, I'm not sure who would lead us. Actually, our rookie, he had 2 in one game, including a pick 6. Jabari Lowell, he ended up taking that slot spot, I think, around the midway point as well. Bobby Okereke, Blake Martinez, and Paulson Adebo each have an interception as well. And I don't think we forced very many fumbles this year. We happened to force 4. So Martinez, Tack, Phillips, and Reed each forced a fumble. and we only recovered one of them. So not good in terms of that. And then obviously we made a change at kicker this year, and we put in our punter Jake Bailey. And in sim, not when watching the sim, but in every other sim, he was amazing. He ended up getting 38 of 38 on extra points. He did miss some field goals. I think 3 of them were all in one game that we were watching. So because of that, and because Madden sees he's a punter, kind of messes their ratings in terms of watching those. But as soon as you go through a sim with the same distance, but either in like the quick sim menu or just simming to the next week, he hit everything. Very consistent for us. Fairburn's only on the roster because we have to have a kicker. And then also, Jake Bailey averaged about 46 yards a punt. He was the MVP of the team this year, without a doubt. So congrats to him. But that is about all the stats. We did not have any kick return touchdowns. Rucker did a pretty good job in kick returns, averaging about 25 yards, close to 25 yards. And in punt return, only 6.3, but you rarely ever get any punt return yards. So some good, some bad, and hopefully we'll be able to fix the bad this offseason. And with us going through all the stats already, kind of all we need to get to now is Pro Bowl week, see if we have any, and then it's offseason time. And here are the Pro Bowl teams, with the number 1 quarterbacks being Teddy Bridgewater and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Vikings, and then Teddy B of the Chiefs. And then following them, we have Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott for the NFC, and then Ryan Tannehill and Deshaun Watson of the AFC. For running backs, there is Montgomery, Mixon, and Harris for NFC, Henry, Chubb, and McCaffrey. McCaffrey made it this year for the AFC, so there is our first guy. NFC fullbacks, Juszczyk and Newton. AFC, Ingold and Ritchie, I think, maybe. I don't think it's Reese. Not sure. NFL, oh, not obviously NFL. NFC receivers, we have Ridley, Metcalf, Williams, Diggs, Robinson II, and Adam Thielen. Got stumbled over his name. AFC, Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Pittman Jr., who could be on our team. Ruggs III, Devontae Adams, another guy who could be on our team. Tony, and I'm assuming Devontae Smith. So no receivers for us, but some possible receivers for us. In terms of tight ends, NFC, Hurst, Gesicki, and Trumbull. And then AFC, Conklin, Andrews, and Higbee. I feel like that's the same 6 as last year. Up front for NFC, we have Bakhtiari, Stanley, Thuney, Vera Tucker, who's another guy who possibly could be on our team, Humphrey, Ragnow, Daniels, Brooks, and Sewell and Wirfs. For the AFC, Collins, Brown, Teller, Davis, Andrews, McCoy, Batoni, sure, Nelson, Always, Armstead, and Smith. For defensive line, go back down here. NFC, we have Jordan and Watt at left end, and then Lawrence and Chase Young for AFC. For right end, Donald and Ngankwe, and then AFC, Garrett and Hendrickson. DTs, we have Buckner, Vita Vea, and Clark for NFC, and then AFC is Oliver, Williams, and Allen, so none of our guys make it there. For edge rush, basically, we have TJ Watt and Khalil Mack for the NFC, Rashard Gary and Hassan Reddick, I believe is his first name, for the AFC. For middle linebackers, Bobby Okereke makes it, just a quick preview. For the NFC, Olukin, I believe is how it's said, Queen, and then AFC is Vander Esch and Bobby. Good to see him back 2 years in a row with him, by the way, which is really good. Right outside linebacker, or right end, basically, Thompson and Highsmith for NFC, and then Nwosu and Jones for AFC. At corner, NFC, not going to switch the order yet, Fuller, Davis, Reed, Murphy, and okay, they just do 4. Interesting. For AFC, honestly, I know it's 4, but I always think it's weird. For the AFC, though, Howard, Awuzie, King, and Dean, so no corners for us. And then safeties for the NFC, you have Johnson, Hooker, Baker, and Bell. And then AFC is Simons, Bates, Hooker, and Jackson. There's 2 hookers. I only remember there being 1. At kicker, we have Wright and McLaughlin. And then Martin and Borskes. Maybe. At punter, kick returners, Thomas and Diggs for the NFC, and then AFC is Applewhite and Ross. So I think we only had the 2 this year. I think we had 2 last year, but a slightly different 2. Bobby making it 2 years in a row. We did not have Solomon Thomas this year. Instead, we had Christian McCaffrey, who probably should have been in it every year, but it's fine. I guess we'll take it this year. And we'll take a quick look at the playoff bracket before we get through over to the offseason, which we'll see who won the Super Bowl then. Starting over in the NFC, the number 1 seed Vikings looks very similar to our Vikings franchise. But in the wild card, we had the Cardinals and the Lions, 2 versus 7. 7 wins, barely 35-34. In the 3 and 6 seed game, we have the Falcons losing to the Packers, 35-28. And 4 and 5, Eagles, Bucks. Eagles win. Not too bad. Get 41-34. The next week, the divisional round, we have the Eagles versus the Packers, and the Packers lose. I always love saying that. 45-38. Vikings win in their matchup versus the Lions, 41-31. Then in the NFC Championship, Vikings lose. Why did they got to make it like real life here? Vikings lose to the Eagles 35-31. At least they managed more than like 3 points. Over in the AFC, Jets get the first round bye with the 2 and 7 game going to number 2. Titans versus Bills get the victory 34-24. And then the Chiefs and Raiders 3 and 6 play, and Raiders get the victory 33-27. The Chiefs lose in the first round. They went all the way to the Super Bowl last year in this series and then lost. And the 4 and 5 game, 5 gets the victory. Jaguars versus Steelers 38-17. And the divisional round, 1 takes on 6. Jets get the victory 35-28. Still a pretty close game. 2 versus 5. Titans gets the victory over the Jaguars 29-17. The Jets will continue to win in the AFC Championship 28-12. At least it was seed 1 versus 2. Makes it a little bit more realistic. And Battle of the Green, Jets versus Eagles. Don't really care who wins this one. We'll go with the Jets because I feel like they never win anything. So I'm gonna say Jets win, but it'll be a close game, 3-point difference. We'll see if that actually is the case when we get on over to the offseason. And during Super Bowl week, we have the yearly awards. Baker Mayfield with the Cardinals wins MVP, and then Robert Saleh, probably butchered that, he wins Coach of the Year. Obviously, we're not going to be anywhere close. Deshaun Watson for the AFC wins the Offensive Player of the Year, also with the Browns in this universe. Interesting. Myles Garrett wins Defensive Player of the Year with the Bills. Offensive Rookie goes to Matthew Applewhite. I don't think we had anyone specifically. Tobias in at 5 and Rucker at 8. And then Feldman at 10, even though he only played 1 game. For Defensive Rookie, it goes to Ciante Hennings. Nathan Gregory was 2nd. And then down at 7 was Tresman Reed. And Lowell down at 10. So we didn't get the victories there. Did I mention? Yeah, I did mention who won that one. Deshaun Watson, best quarterback. Best running back goes to Derrick Henry, still with the Titans. And then CJ Stoudemire wins best receiver. And we didn't have any in the running there. Best O-line goes to Laramie Tunsil. And they also had Ryan Ramczyk. So they have a pretty good line, which makes sense. They're going to the Super Bowl top. At least they have 4 in the top 7. So a really good offensive line there. Myles Garrett wins best DB with none of our guys in the running. Best linebacker goes to Chandler Jones. Best DB, Xavier Howard. And then kicker goes to Brandon McManus. Did we happen to get our guy on here? Nope. Well, that sucks. NFC, Baker Mayfield, Offensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. Neville Gardner, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Chauncey Whitfield, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Baker Mayfield, best quarterback. David Montgomery, best running back. DK Metcalf, best receiver. David Bakhtiari, best O-line. And Aaron Donald, best D-line, always. JT Watt, best linebacker, again, always. Kendall Fuller, best DB. And then Matthew Wright, best kicker. And I did guess the right team to win the Super Bowl, just not by the correct margin. Jets get the victory 26-14. The Super Bowl MVP is right outside linebacker Lorenzo Carter. Probably more of just an end guy, but still really nice to see a defensive guy win the Super Bowl MVP. I feel like that really rarely happens anymore. But that is the last bit of news for what was a really bad season for us in terms of our overall wins and losses. I feel like the team got better, but they obviously didn't get better enough. And that's what this whole offseason is going to be about. So not much to do at this point. We'll jump over to the next week, finish out any signings that we have of our own guys, and then to the open free agency. And shortly after that, I believe, will be the Super Bowl. Or not the Super Bowl. We just finished the Super Bowl. Hopefully we'll win a Super Bowl next year. Maybe that's just some good karma. We'll find out. But I meant to say the draft. And in terms of retirements, we did have one for us this year. Marvin Jones Jr. calls it done after a year, which he was basically just a wide receiver coach for the team. In terms of overall retirements, Rob Gronkowski retires, Aaron Rodgers retires, so no way we could bring him in. Malcolm Jenkins retires, J.J. Watt retires, Bobby Wags retires, Pat O'Donnell retires. Some pretty good guys. Obviously, we saw Marvin Jones, Cameron Hayward retires, Tyrod Taylor, feel like he's played for a bunch of different teams. He finally retires. Everson Griffin retires, so no bringing him back. Obviously, we had to cut him at the beginning of the year, unfortunately. Cam Newton retires. Raheem Mostert retires. Latavius Murray retires. Nick Foles retires. Cordero Patterson. Villanueva retires. He was a good lineman. LaMarcus Joyner, just because he's been in a few of my franchises. Justin Houston retires. Jared Cook. Matt Ryan. Dunlap. Devontae Freeman. There's a lot of retires. Kyle Rudolph retires. A lot of ones. Patrick Peterson. And then Bruce Arians retires, as well as an offensive coordinator in Dan Hampton. So a lot of retirees, a lot of big names there as we move on into basically what is the start of our fourth season pretty much at this point, and where we need to start negotiating. We have 6 contracts to possibly negotiate. And Nate Herbig, he wants more of a salary, and he's one of our better backups. So we'll bump this up a little bit, and I'll just get this up to, 3 years, about $7 million for a backup offensive lineman, and he will sign, so he will continue to hang around. Bryce Love, we're not going to. He doesn't have a way onto the field, so we won't re-sign him. Casey Toohill is one of our few backup outside linebackers that is a decent overall at this point. So we'll give him a 2-year, 3.8, and he will continue to stick around. Colby Parkinson we would like to keep around as well. We'll give a sizable deal here. 4 years, 13.8, and he will stick around. Drew Dahlman, another one of our backups we would like to keep around for at least a few years here. Make it a 4-year, 8.6, and he will stick around. And then Nate Metters, he kind of floats around corner, safety, whatever position we just need some backups in. So we'll give him a little something here. 2 years, a little under $1 million each year, and he will stick around. Just need to have some depth, guys. In about 2 years, he will start to regress, and at that point, we could definitely cut him loose. But that is all we had to do. So pretty quick re-signing for us. And now I get to do the fun part of going through the entire free agent market, find all the available California guys that could possibly make a difference for us, and then see if we can bring them in. And much different than previous seasons, only have one offer that we're putting out in free agency this year, and that's for Darnay Holmes, who will be, if he accepts, a starting corner for us. Our previous starter, Fabian Monroe, was around the same overall, but he just hit 30 and his overall tanked. He dropped to a 69 overall. So we need a new starter, and Darnay Holmes is really our only option. He is the man cover guy that we are looking for. He does not have much press, and he is okay in terms of a corner for tackle and block shedding. So we'll see what we end up doing with Llewell. If we end up keeping him at slot, or if he goes to the outside, and if we put Darnay Holmes in the slot or on the outside, we'll play around with that a little bit to see where the best fit is. But we put in a pretty sizable offer. We're number one for him. I believe it was a 101-point offer. So hopefully he will accept that, because that is a definite need for us, and that's not something we could really fix in the draft. I think there was only a day 3 guy and some potential undrafted. But in terms of finding a higher overall guy, he is the only option. So we will sim forward, and we're going to hope he accepts. And he rejected a 4-year offer to go to a different team. So either we're just not going to have some great corners, or we might need to look at making some trades. I don't want to do that prior to the draft, because I want to use our draft picks to maybe move up in the draft as much as we can to get some of the higher tier guys, which I believe we need to take a look at right now as we're in free agency week 2. And week 3, I believe, is when we have to select some offseason focused scouting. I don't know what they call it when it comes to the offseason. Even though I've seen it a bajillion times, I always forget what they are. But in terms of what we can do for that, I want to put Northrop in there. We're up to 80%. I just want to know if he's actually top 5, if he's not, so we know when exactly we need to take him. But with him, so far we know throw accuracy mid is an A, short is a B, play action is a B, break sack is a B. Then the other ratings, not too impressive. In terms of his physicals, he actually has some decent speed, running a 4.74, so he'll have at least enough speed to drag on a play a little bit to hopefully find an open guy. I wouldn't necessarily call him a scrambler, but he definitely has more speed than what the decent speed goes to show. Throw power is great, so he should have a good enough arm. I'm assuming probably around the 90 mark, somewhere around there. Bench press, pretty good. He does not have much agility or acceleration, so yeah, definitely don't expect him to be much of a runner, but at 6'6", 228, I wouldn't assume he would be, but that's definitely most likely going to be our number 1 pick, and we will select him to be one of the focus scouting guys. There's 5 Stanford running backs available. We don't need any other running backs at this point. Receivers. These 2 might be the other options that we'll go with for the remaining 3 focus players. For Callaway, we know that he has A spec catch, which is pretty good, A ball carrier vision. He's not much of a break tackler. He doesn't have super high release, and we don't know any of the short, deep, or medium route running, or the catching or catching traffic. So some more information we could definitely learn from Callaway as to how good he actually is. He's not a burner, but he's agile and has some pretty decent acceleration. He could jump a little bit. We could use possibly another receiver. There's some other positions that have a round 1 as well that we might go after. Marion Hobbs, the other possible receiver, 6'4", 217. Last we saw, it didn't look as good as the other receiver. And with C, short route running, and D, medium route running, not looking too high on the board. C, catch and traffic, B, spec catch. It's okay. He is a little bit quicker than the previous receiver, and a little bit stronger, and can jump a little bit higher, but that's about it. He's definitely a physical archetype guy, even though they say deep threat. Unless the deep route running is like an A, he seems more like a just a big body kind of guy to toss it up to. Tight ends, just potential and drafted. Not going to spend any time looking further into them. Then there was one lineman who I feel like used to be projected much higher than a 3 to 4. I could have sworn he used to be another round 1 to 2. Yeah, because there's no other guys that high. So I guess his projection changed as he drops Klein down to a 3 to 4, which might work in our favor here. We have B run block power, B run block, B pass block, and then D pass block finesse, and D lead block. We need as many linemen as we could get, so in the 3rd or 4th round, I wouldn't mind picking him up. Definitely not the best possible guy, but for us possible, yeah. And then Spencer Wallace, another round 1, who we could use to potentially replace Solomon Thomas, who I don't believe I saw him regress. I didn't fully check everyone, but Spencer Wallace, B finesse moves, B power moves, B awareness, B hit power with A pursuit. That's not bad. He's a strong guy with pretty decent speed as well. Good acceleration and agility. I think Spencer Wallace might need to get the other scouting spot versus the second receiver. And then at left outside linebacker, potential undrafteds. Now Darius Carrington, I'm definitely interested in, at least from the last time we looked, as I have to adjust in my chair here, felt myself sinking. We do know that he could rush the passer. He's pretty smart with B awareness and B play rec. He doesn't have much power moves, but has the finesse. He could hit. We don't know the coverage or the block shedding, but around 2 to 3, it's pretty intriguing. And then there was another linebacker over at right outside linebacker. Quincy Shepard goes from a round 2 to 3 up to a round 1 to 2. And I think it said that he's a speed rusher. But when I look, I see A zone coverage, B man coverage, and the rushing is C finesse and D power move. So I see an inside linebacker with A awareness, B play rec. I know that Martinez just came off of one of his best years, Bobby Okeriki's back-to-back Pro Bowls, but Quincy Shepard looks really good. In terms of his physicals, has some decent strength, has plenty of speed, acceleration, and agility, and he could jump. I mean, you kind of have to. You kind of have to. And then Isaiah Spain drops from a top 5 to a round 1 to 2, depending on how far he drops. We could potentially go after him. He's 6'5", 255, 22 years old, and obviously we just drafted Nathan Gregory, but Takk McKinley regressed this offseason. And I see a guy here with A block shedding, A play rec, B finesse, and B power moves. He looks really good to put on the other side of Nathan Gregory. Could possibly even go in at the rush left end instead of Solomon Thomas if we're not able to go after the other, the left end, I believe he was. We're not able to go after Spencer Wallace, so there's a lot of different options up top in the draft. Not a whole lot of guys middle or late. In terms of the one possible draftable corner, we have Landon Wakefield, and he can't cover and he can't press, so just not a very good guy to even try to draft. Both of them dropped spots during the actual season. And then there's a backup safety that's a day 3, and then another backup safety that would be a day 3, also potential undrafted. So basically everything we need to do in the draft is up top. So we might need to be trading some of our players, some of our picks, try to just load up in the top end so we can make sure we get our quarterback, maybe a receiver, and then some of these defensive guys. But for our focus scouting, I think we'll go with Northrop just to find out the last little bit of information. Would consider Callaway again to find out where he would go. I'm not going to bother doing one on clean. Possibly it's between Spencer Wallace or finishing out the middle linebacker in Carrington. We do know a bit more about Carrington than we do about Wallace, so I think I'll go with Wallace, the receiver, and then the quarterback. And then after jumping over to the next week, we find out the last little bits of information. Dontrell Northrup does drop from a top 5 to a round 1, but still that is plenty good enough for us. And I'm seeing a lot of A's with A awareness, stamina, throw under pressure, throw accuracy deep, throw accuracy mid, and then B for throw accuracy short, B for play action, B break sack, A trucking even. He's definitely going to be our first pick for sure. Maybe we'll be able to drop back a little bit, maybe pick up another first round in the same draft to kind of find out where these guys are going. Will Callaway actually moves up from a round 1 to 2 to a for sure round 1? And what we find out with him, A spec catch, C catch in traffic, A catching though, C release not great, but we do have B medium route running, B short route running, and A deep route running. With B awareness, definitely looks solid. I don't know exactly where he could possibly play, if he is more of an outside or more of an inside, With release being a C, I think more inside, but with A, deep route running, there's typically not a whole lot of deep routes ran in the slot, at least in the playbook and from what I've seen from the gameplay so far with our new playbook. I don't see a lot of deep shots in the slot, but without having release makes it a little worrying, but is definitely a guy that we could move around and give us some flexibility on the outside. And then we do not get all of the information. 10% off of finding actually where Spencer Wallace would go. Projected round 1. I'm assuming probably going to stick round 1 because we don't find out the block shedding or the tackling, but A, play rec, A, pursuit, A, injury, A, impact block, B, power moves, B, finesse moves with B, hit power and stamina and awareness. He just looks really good. Obviously, we spent a lot of picks on D-line up to this point, but you got to go after the best possible guys. And there's, I think, 5 first-round guys I would love to draft. Obviously, Isaiah Spain, Quincy Shepard, they would make 2, then 3 for Spencer Wallace, and then the receiver, Callaway, would make 4, and then our quarterback would make 5. So there are 5 first-round guys, and then a huge drop-off till the very end, basically, of the draft. There is that tackle that we could potentially try to pick up, but I don't think he would be a starter. So I'm not sure it's all too worth possibly losing some of those higher up guys if we can move up in the draft, that is. I doubt we could get 5 first-round picks, but there's definitely 5 first-round guys I would love to have on this team. But we have to get into the draft and see where we're picking and what all we could do. So let's head on in. And we are into the draft, and in previous seasons, we've picked 2nd and 3rd. For the first time, we're picking 1st. So let's pause this draft, and then let's kind of jump in a little bit and see where the guys that we're wanting, where they're falling, if we could potentially move down, pick up some extra picks, so we could get more of these guys. So let's take a look. Obviously, there were the 5 guys that we were looking at. So within the first several picks here, we have a couple guys we were wanting. Dontrell Northrup, they expect to go 3, possibly could be earlier than that. And Isaiah Spain, even though he's a top 5 projected, actually around 1 to 2, he's going to fall. We do have 2 first-round picks, 1 and 16, and then a single pick in all the additional rounds, 1st overall. So we potentially might need to move up with that 16th pick if we want to pick up Isaiah Spain. Clearly, there were other guys who are higher talent than him, and let's see where they are falling. Spencer Wallace, they project to go 10 or around 10, so definitely a good guy there. And then in terms of the receiver, not that one. Callaway, they're expecting 24, so that would be more in line with the current 1st that we have. And then I believe the others were not actual 1st rounders, but 1 to 2s who were just really good. So if we're wanting to move up, we kind of have to decide if we're going to be moving up for the guy projected number 10, Spencer Wallace, or would we need to try to trade up even more for Isaiah Spain? Either way, this first pick, I think we need to go ahead and use it and pick up Northrup. So we will be drafting a brand new quarterback, and he is a hidden dev, 92 throw power, 78 speed, 81 acceleration, plenty enough. We have a brand new starting quarterback who hopefully will vastly improve the play of our offense. Now, if we're going to be realistic, I don't think we could get back into the top 5. With what we currently have, I don't think it would be possible. So I'll take a look at who's drafting, see what their needs are, but I don't have a feeling we'll be getting back into the top 5. And with the 4th pick in the draft, Isaiah Spain is drafted by the Cowboys. I had a feeling that he possibly could go here. They needed a left outside linebacker. They didn't need a right, but he was also the next available one on the board. I didn't have anything really to trade up with them to pick him up. So at this point, I just didn't think it would really really work. The next 2 picks after our first pick were the 2 quarterbacks, so Isaiah Spain was the next guy up. I just was hoping they wouldn't go with him, but we won't be picking up Isaiah Spain. The next target is the left end, who would then replace possibly Solomon Thomas. And I am currently attempting to make a trade with the Texans for their number 5 overall pick. They need a left end. That is the position where Wallace plays. I offered a current 2, next year's 2, and Solomon Thomas, and we're not quite there yet. And the trade that gets it done is Solomon Thomas to be their new starting left end. Our next 2, or this year's 2, the first 2, or I think our only 2, and then next year's first rounder. So hopefully we could do something after the draft to try to get a round 1 back, but we need to go get Wallace. And with the next pick, we will pick up Spencer Wallace. We traded Solomon Thomas because Spencer Wallace would be taking over for him, so there's no reason for us to keep him on roster. Hopefully, it's the right decision. He's a hidden dev. 86 strength will go up to 90 with 86 acceleration, 85 agility, 75 speed. I think that'll be plenty enough for him at this point. So hopefully this all works out well for us. And we still have our other first round pick, our 16th overall. So if we look at the draft board, we're about 10, 11 picks from that pick. And I don't believe any of the guys we are looking for will fall within that, so already past that. And I don't believe, so Will Callaway is down at 19. So we'll get down to our pick, and hopefully he hasn't been taken, and we'll potentially see if we could trade down, maybe pick up a first round next year, if he's still available. Again, it varies, but another guy that is a first round talent, we still have the ability to pick up. And we have gotten to our 16th overall pick. There's been receivers who have gone, and our guy is the number 1 receiver currently left on the board. So that kind of puts us into a spot. Do we consider trading? Obviously, we do not have we don't have a second round pick anymore, and there are other guys that we are wanting in the first round. There was some that other linebacker, Quincy Shepard. He was a second to third. We doubt he would make it to the third. And then the middle linebacker, another second to third. We don't know what his overall talent ended up actually being. So potentially we might need to use several other of our future picks in this draft to move back up to get Quincy Shepard. But I think at this point, we need to go with what's available right now and who may not be available any longer. And that is that is the receiver for sure. And our offense struggled so much last year that I think we need to do as much as we can to improve it. Defense played much better than our offense did. So Callaway is the next pick. He's only a normal dev, 91 speed though, with 92 acceleration, 95 agility, pretty good change of direction, jumping is alright. Doesn't provide much strength, but I think we need to have as many offensive weapons as we can get. And they don't have Quincy Shepard going, that right outside linebacker, for another 48 picks. Now, that's only a little over about a round and a half-ish away. And that would put us close to our third round pick. But I think when we get into the second, we need to consider trading up to get Quincy Shepard. So I'm going to start to go through. I'm not going to send straight to the next round, but I'll go through. And hopefully if Quincy Shepard will still be available when we get to round 2, and I'll see what trades I can make to come up and potentially get a really good linebacker. And we have made a trade with the Panthers to move up to pick 35. We are giving them Blake Martinez as the linebacker we want to get. We'll take his spot. We're also giving them a current 5th round pick and a future 3rd round pick, so we can move back up and get a linebacker that we know is round 1 talent. So luckily, we were able to do that. And obviously, the guy we want to get is Quincy Shepard. We know he's a round 1 to 2. He was projected 2 to 3, but he just looks really good. He can cover, he can hit a bit. I think he'll just be a solid all-around guy, and I know Martinez just came off of his best season, but he's 30 years old now, so I think now is a sell now or never kind of situation for him. So Quincy Shepard will come in for him, and he is a hidden dev. 87 speed, 90 acceleration, 91 agility, 73 strengths, not too bad either. We switched out a Stanford player for another Stanford player. And we were also able to keep our 3rd round pick. So at this point, if we take a look, obviously there was another linebacker that we were interested in, and he was a middle linebacker. So if for some reason the linebacker we just picked actually ends up being more of a outside linebacker, that works fine for us. There's another linebacker that's available with Carrington, and we know with him that there's a bit of pass rush there, honestly, with the B finesse moves, but he's pretty smart. He could hit. It's another solid guy. If he's available early 3rd round, we could definitely go after him. There was also the offensive lineman over at right tackle, Taylor Clean, who's around 3 to 4. So we have some options when we get to that 3rd round pick, but we will not be trading up, even if one of those other guys that we want could potentially go earlier. We're going to jump to that 3rd round pick and take best available. And the middle linebacker is still there, as well as the tackle, Taylor Clean, also still there. We have a 3 and a 4. So potentially with Taylor Clean being around 3 to 4, we could wait for that 4th round pick, and hopefully he's still there. I believe the better guy to take at this point would be Darius Carrington. So he will be the pick. We'll double down at linebacker and hopefully have a variety of different spots we can move guys to. 87 speed, same as the other linebacker. A little bit more strength with 80. Agility, still pretty good. Acceleration, really good. So we got some good young guys coming in this draft for sure. And unfortunately, that tackle no longer here in the 4th round. So we'll need to see what our other options are. We'll just go ahead and jump over to the all category. Besides the running back that we really do not need, is there any other potential draftable guys at this point? There's some day 3s. There's actually quite a few day 3s, but there aren't any 3rd to 4th rounders. So I'll jump through these day 3 guys, see if any of them happen to stick out. If not, we might trade this pick for getting back some picks next year, basically. And there really was no one worth drafting at this point, so we will be looking for a pick next year, hopefully. Someone will offer a good pick. There is a 7th next year. Looking for something a bit higher. You could just give me picks next year. That's all I need. There's a 6, another 7, and there's really not a whole lot happening. I could get a 4 and a 7 next year, but I don't think that'll help too much. But it looks like that is the only offer available from the Super Bowl losers, the Eagles. We'll take a 4th and a 7th next year. Hopefully it'll just give us a little bit more ammo to move up in the last and final draft if, for some reason, we don't win a Super Bowl this next season, which I don't necessarily expect. So we'll jump to the 6th round and make our last 2 picks in the beginning of the 6th and the end, or yeah, also the beginning of the 7th, not the end. That's the other series. And at the beginning of this 6th round, we still have 26 available guys on our board, most of which are projected undrafted. So most of the day 3 guys that I took a look at, I really didn't like very much. So I'll just run through trying to find some guys like Kahiri Lawrence, who was potential undrafted but went up 120 spots, just to see who I could find, if I could find the highest overall potential guy who is potential undrafted, because the day 3 guys I really didn't like very much. And there is really nothing to see with the remainder of the potential undrafted, even the day 3s. So I will be trading the last 2 picks we have for future picks, and we'll then use those future picks to try to move back up in the next draft. So see what we could find here that would be the best. There is 2 picks we could get here from Tennessee, and that looks like that'll probably be the best we could honestly get. I mean, obviously get higher than 156, but I feel like 2 picks is better than just 1 pick. So we will take the trade from the Titans, and we'll jump through to our last pick, trade that one away, and then we'll find out actually how good all these guys were that we were able to pick up. And the Vikings seem to have given us the best offer. All these offers only had 1 pick to them, and the Vikings have the highest overall projected, basically, of those. So we will go with them, just get a bunch of late round picks for the next year to use as some ammunition to try to basically move back up, because there's really never anyone late that is going to make a huge impact. And with that, our draft day is done. So we'll skip ahead to the end and see how good our guys are. And the moment we've all been waiting for, we get a load screen. And there's the actually pretty good overalls across the board. Callaway ends up being the highest overall at 76. Lowest overall was 72. Quincy Shepard, surprisingly, I thought he would have been a bit higher. But let's take a deeper look. Dontrell Northrup's going to come in at a 75 overall, and he's already the highest overall quarterback we have, even with Mills. 92 throw power. I believe that's a 4 or 5 higher than Mills. Deep accuracy, 81, medium, 83, and short, 81, all solid, with pretty good awareness to start out for a rookie. 78 speed and 81 acceleration is nothing too bad, so he should be able to get out of some quick pressure, and he has ideal sense of pressure and ideal force passing. He has a pocket quarterback style. Unfortunately, I don't believe it would be very realistic to change that to balanced or scrambling or anything like that. So we'll leave it as a pocket quarterback style, so I doubt he'll be doing any running whatsoever. Predictable player and balanced penalty tendency. Solid, and he actually is coming in at the number 32 ranked quarterback, so he is a starting quarterback in the league for sure. So pretty good pick there, a definite upgrade. Then we went and got Spencer Wallace, another hidden dev guy, and his ratings end up looking pretty decent. Kind of could work with him in any different direction. 90 strength is pretty good, 86 acceleration is pretty good as well, and a pretty similar overall to what we had Solomon Thomas at. So ends up working pretty well. 27th ranked left end, big hitter. He has predictable player, swim move, bull rush, high motor, balance penalty. Injury is also a 99, so shouldn't be getting injured. Gonna knock on wood. I feel like that's a solid pick to pick up there. We could have obviously went with Spain, who we ended up trading the pick after he went to get, but still, I think we end up looking pretty good there. Will Callaway was the third first-round pick for us, only in normal dev, but 91 speed, 92 acceleration, and then with our coaching boost has 90 catching, 80 catch in traffic, short route running and medium route running both 78 with deep at 80, spec catch at 86, release 77, so that's really not that bad. Considering he had C, I think he could definitely play on the outside or on the inside. We could kind of do whatever we really want with him. So, definite improvement, I feel like, as he'll come in tied, I think, with our highest overall receiver. And then ball carrier vision's actually pretty good. Change of direction's pretty good. Has some juke, has some spin. He could definitely have some play after, or run after the catch play for us. Personalities, charismatic, if you're curious. Possession catch, run after the catch. He's going to fight for yards, covers the ball on big hits, and a balanced penalty guy. Solid. And then for defense, we went back-to-back linebackers, and Quincy Shepard was the first one we ended up going with. And we see that he doesn't have much finesse moves or anything. It did list him as a speed rusher. And surprisingly, the fact he had A zone coverage and it's only a 63 is a bit disappointing. So we could kind of flex him around. I feel like wherever we need. Tack McKinley did regress down to a 70 overall, but I believe he'll have higher finesse moves. So we'll see what we're going to do with Quincy Shepard. I definitely expected him to be a bit better than this, but awareness is already at a 78, which is a definite good thing. Play rec 73 is not bad. He has really good agility. Injuries pretty decent. Stamina's not bad. Acceleration's really good. So yeah, we can kind of flex him around to a couple different linebacker spots, which will just help us in general. And then Darius Carrington was our last and final pick, I believe at the beginning of the third round. And he ends up having slightly higher coverage ability by a few points here and there. I think man coverage is up by a good chunk. Block shedding is a 70. And then speed, solid. Tackle, solid. Hit power, solid. Good strength. I mean, yeah, the picks we ended up getting here at linebacker really give us options on where we really want to place some guys. In terms of his finesse moves, is also pretty close to that of Quincy Shepard. So we could play either one of these guys on the outside and either one at the inside, which is some really nice flexibility that I don't feel like you really get from a lot of linebackers. So pretty good, and hopefully they turn out really good. So that really helps us out. Last thing we need to do is send on over to the regular season. Actually, I do, however, before we do that, I do want to take a look at Quincy to see, or not Quincy, Isaiah Spain. My bad. Spain is actually a 71, so not as good as we were thinking. He is much more of an edge rush guy. He's for sure an edge rush guy. He's not going to cover much at all. He has block shedding, has finesse and power moves. You could work him in either direction. So we end up getting two linebackers that could flex to either inside or outside versus possibly losing one of those picks and just getting a guy who can only play on the outside. So not too bad. I think I'm all right getting with or taking the guys that we did end up taking. He ended up being a 71 overall. Did he have? He's also only a normal dev as well versus the guy that we ended up taking basically because we didn't pick him up, or kind of because we picked him up. We would have wanted to take him either way. Both of the linebackers we got ended up being higher overalls. Quincy Shepard, I believe, was the hidden dev. He is. And then Carrington, I think, was just normal. He is just normal. So I think we ended up getting the better picks here. We got 3 first-round picks, and all of these guys, I believe, will be starting or at least in the rotation, mainly referring to Carrington. I believe Shepard will get the start over Tack McKinley. So the last thing we really have to do is I'll just run through here, see if there's any undrafted rookie guys that are open to us, see how they are, bring them on if we think they can make a difference, and if not, that'll kind of be the end of all the things we have here to do this off-season. And in the next episode, start season 4, and hopefully will be a much better year with our new players. And now we have gone through all of the potential free agents that are still out there, brought some guys in, some undrafted rookies, some who were actually happened to be available, who thought could potentially be something, maybe. So we'll just run through the roster real quick. Davis Mills, currently without any of the minuses from morale and anything, is actually sitting at the same overall as Northrop. But if we go through, we could take a look at their similarities and how each one of them is better or worse than the other. Speed is the same, acceleration basically the same. Mills actually has a little bit more agility, but change of direction does go to Northrop. Strength is definitely in Northrop's favor. Awareness is about the same. Throw power rating is +5 for Northrop, so really going to unlock the deeper part of the field. Short throw accuracy, Mills was pretty accurate short, which is why he only threw short, basically. So he has the +10 there for the deep. For medium accuracy, they're about the same, 3 in favor of Mills, but Mills has been playing for 4 years, or this is his 4th year. And then throw accuracy deep, the same. Throw accuracy, or throw on the run, is about the same. Mills has the +4. Throw under pressure, about the same. Mills has +1. Break sack, though, greatly in favor of Northrop. Play action, about the same. Mills has the +3. And then carrying, he has it again for a +3. But again, that doesn't really matter too much. In terms of stamina, definitely in favor of Northrop. Toughness in favor of Mills. Then injury, pretty close, but in favor of Mills. So they're very similar quarterbacks at this point. But again, Mills has been playing for a while, and Northrop is a rookie. So we're definitely going to give Northrop the start. We also found Carter Duckworth, who is a undrafted rookie, and he has some decent ratings for a backup. 87 throw power, 77 short accuracy, and 75 deep accuracy with a little bit of speed, agility, acceleration. So he will be fighting for the backup, not really backup, for practice squad spot between him and Feldman. Obviously Feldman, we've seen him play. We liked what he did. So those two will compete there. At running back, I did go and sign several of the Stanford undrafted running backs just so we could see who's better. We're definitely not keeping all of them. We will only keep one of them, and even then, that one will probably only be making the practice squad. So just a few guys for us to take a look at when we get into the preseason section of the next episode. As for receivers, junior generals, in definitely number 1. Callaway will probably be number 2. Then J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is up to a 76, and he's much more of an outside guy, so will be the next guy up most likely. Keyshawn Johnson, Rucker, and Simi Fehoko will be fighting for the starting slot role. And then Will Tobias, we'll see if he outperforms J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. It seems like he did this last year when he got the go-ahead for the second half of the season instead of J.J. So we'll see which one of those two will get that next guy up kind of action for the outside receiver spot. But either way, we want a solid rotation with these receivers, as there are a lot of them, and some of them may not even end up making the final roster. I think Keyshawn Johnson is one that's on the edge because we brought him in last year. He really didn't do much. Rucker played very well, and we've seen Simi Fehoko play pretty well as well. And then Christian Cole and Pat Carruthers, they're practice squad guys all the way. At tight end, we did sign Devin Asasi, not sure how to pronounce it, because Ertz might be trade candy, basically. Because we need to get some more picks after trading away a lot of them for obviously getting all the guys we got this draft. In terms of offensive line, we did sign a couple guys. We'll see. Basically, I signed any of the offensive linemen that popped up that were undrafted to see if they were better than any of the ones we had already had, and I'm only going to keep the best of those ones. So in this case, most likely Scott Green will end up getting cut. Daryl Short will go to the practice squad. For left guard, things like this where Jonathan Wall has been on the team for several years. He's now 23. There was an undrafted rookie who's 21 with the same overall. We'll take a look at the actual individual ratings, but most likely Ellison will stay and then Wall will be cut. Most likely Ellison will be going to the practice squad at the same time. We don't need a 58 overall on roster. Mellon probably won't make the roster. We have some young centers, but just brought him on so we could take a look. Ruiz, he might. I think he's one of the highest overall of the younger guys. Lacey will probably get the go-ahead over Pollard, who was with us last year. At left end, no new guys were signed there. Right end, no new guys. There was a couple new defensive tackles. We'll take a look at them, see if any of them could possibly flex out to the left end or right end. If any, would probably be Molds, as Gore has 65 speed. So really doubt he would do anything. At linebacker, nothing new for left outside linebacker. We did find Juan Craig, who is a practice squad guy for sure. And then right outside linebacker, there is Mark Goodson, who is a higher overall and younger than Mitch Simpson, so most likely he will get the practice squad spot. Simpson will drop. Corners, we did find Marvell Tell, the third, and he will probably make the roster, and we may end up cutting Fabian Moreau as he's dropped a bit. Man coverage only a 68 with zone coverage 72. We don't need that in any sort of starting rotation, so he might be cut. And Macy could possibly be cut as well if we have to make roster limits. At free safety, no one new there. We did pick up Dante Reese. He does not have much of any tackle ability, so most likely he would be changed over to free safety and probably will end up heading to the practice squad. There were no new kickers, no new punters, so that is where the roster is at this point. By the time we start the next episode, I will have gone through this, moved some guys around, updated numbers, looks, stuff like that, and we'll have everything set for us to sim through the preseason, check out the stats, make the final adjustments to the roster, and get into Season 4, where hopefully we make a significant jump with the additions that we've made on offense. Our offense has struggled. Now we have some new guys who can hopefully boost that, so we could have a winning season for one would be nice, and also try to make the postseason and complete this challenge by the time we get to end of Season 5. So I hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you aren't subscribed, because I know most of the people watching these aren't, make sure you hit that subscription button below and tick that bell notification to be notified of when these are posted. This series is posted every Saturday, and then the Viking series is posted every Monday and Thursday. And that's more of a traditional Madden series if you haven't seen that. So I hope you guys are enjoying, and until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.